Hey, you guys, it's Life of Nikki Lee podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're doing well and living your fullest every day. So, tonight, you guys, we're going to be covering the topic of why so many people do not want to date and be in a committed relationship. Now, I remember several months back, I was with some good friends of mine and we attended a soiree. And it was just really, really nice. The vibe was so good. And everything about that night was just amazing. And I met some really good people. And we were just sitting there and collectively discussing all the issues that we faced and what we've heard other people say, whether they were younger, our age, and older. And it was a good crowd, a good mix of diversity there. And so everybody was just sharing, their experiences and what they had been through. And it was really interesting. One of the things that I noticed, however, kept coming up was a lot of the women. I mean, there were guys there too, but a lot of the women were basically saying that one of the reasons they were afraid to date was because of down low men. They just, not only is just not the trust there with, fidelity, but they're afraid of running into a down low man. And actually, a few of them shared some experiences where they were actually with someone who they found out was down low. Now, I see this on social media all the time. There are so many stories, it's mind-blowing, right? And you have that woman who's been in a committed relationship with a guy for years. And then after they've gotten married or, been together a long time or had kids, they find out that this man is sleeping with another man. And it's so sad because when you think about the STD statistics, you think about how HIV is constantly on the rise, all the STDs, syphilis and all that stuff. And people are not only walking in their, they're not walking in their truth about their sexuality, but they don't even know their status. They don't even go to the doctor like they should to make sure that they are healthy. And you got these men out here, they claim they're straight, but to the gay community and the trans community, they're known as trade. They present themselves as straight, but they're really not straight, right? And these are the guys that have their, female companions, they have their wives, they have their girlfriends. They will go off and sleep with a man, sleep with a transsexual woman, and then they'll go right back home to their wife. And let me remind you, with the HIV stats, the last time I checked, I believe it said, don't quote me on this, but I believe it said 1 in every 3 gay men is HIV positive. And I'm telling you that when you just look at that information alone and you think about these people who are in committed relationships and they live these double lives, just because you're with someone and you're so-called in a marriage or a committed relationship, you're not safe. And then, you'll have people say, well, there's PrEP now. You can take PrEP and you can be prepared and you don't have to risk all that. But even with PrEP, if you don't take your medicine correctly with that, you will still be putting yourself and your partner at risk. And a lot of people just don't want to have these conversations because it makes them uncomfortable. A lot of men who choose not to come out of the closet, they're afraid of getting clowned by everybody, even though it's 2024. And, let's just be honest, damn near everybody's out the closet or getting exposed at some point. I mean, it's getting there. And I can tell you for certain, I can understand completely why a lot of women are uncomfortable with dating. And it's not just, the down low men. There's other, key components to it as well. A lot of women also felt like getting with a guy, they have often been put in positions where they felt controlled or manipulated or something that made them very uncomfortable. Nobody wants to be in a position where they feel like they have to constantly compromise themselves. You know, if you have to lose who you are, if you have to lose your voice in a relationship, is it really worth entertaining? And I understand that there are, the guys, the alpha males who are like, let me be the provider, let me do this, let me do that. And that's fine. If you want to be a provider, if you want to be, that role in your woman's life, that's great. But she should not have to give up her voice and just stay at home and just do whatever you want her to do just because you're paying for everything. I think it's very important for a lot of women to hold on to their independence because that's what was really important to all of us at that soiree, talking about those things. And I just think it's really sad when you meet someone and people bring their egos. I feel like if you're really just ready to meet someone and you're really ready to have a healthy relationship, your ego cannot come. Your ego cannot come. I'm sorry. Like, maybe it's hard for some people to do that, but I feel like if you're really ready to explore that avenue with someone and get into a relationship, you're going to have to do the work. You got to check yourself, both men and women. Childhood trauma, issues with parents, whatever the case may be, whatever you grew up through. And another thing is you have to be careful. Someone who was raised based on love and someone who was raised based on survival, two different mindsets. And you have to be careful when you run into somebody with that mindset, because a person who was more so raised off of just survival alone, most times they'll never understand. A lot of people who were raised on morals and standards and love and what's important, what it takes to have a healthy relationship versus someone who's just been barely getting by and all they want is a good life. All they want to do is survive. And in the meantime, they do what they want because they don't want to be at risk for anything because they're just used to getting in, getting what they need, and going away. You can't flourish with someone like that. You just can't. It's not possible. And, again, going back to the providers, you have a lot of people now, they come up, they talk a good game. They want to be the man, but they do not sustain the life of a provider. They want you to pay for everything. Like that's not going to work. I truly, in my heart, feel that people who have not established themselves, done the inner work, done the healing, especially if they're not established financially, people like that, in my opinion, they have no reason. They have no business getting into a relationship because you're just going to fuck it up. I mean, let's just be brutally honest here. You're just going to mess it up. Because what's going to happen is if you're a man and you're not established and then you get with a woman who has her shit together, you got her taking care of everything. She's not going to respect you because she's going to have to take in that masculine energy because she's taking care of everything. Meanwhile, you just want to be a bad bitch and be taken care of, and you're on the receiving end of everything. Been there, done that. You cannot have a successful relationship with someone you are not equally yoked with, someone who is not established. I'm sorry, it's going to always be a problem. And God forbid if you run into someone who is jealous of your accomplishments and your success. That right there, that stuff can get you killed. I cannot even tell you how many times I have heard horrible stories about these wonderful, beautiful, successful women who ran into these monsters. You know, some of them were fresh out of jail, you know, had nothing going for themselves. Nothing. These women think they can build up these kinds of men and they think they can mold them into something. Because people have a tendency to want to say, oh, I can fix this person. I just need to love on them. Yeah, you can try that. You won't get far. Because most times when someone meets you, they already know in their mind what intentions they have for you. And like I said, you know, when it comes down to dating anyone, God bless you if you meet the right person, and God help you if you meet the wrong person. You have to be vigilant. You have to, like I said, you have to know yourself in and out. You have to have your voice. Don't ever lose yourself trying to be with someone, because that price is too high to pay. And trust and believe it will not end well. So you guys can tell me in the comments what you think about it. Have you ever been scared, or are you currently scared to date, and why? So like, share, and subscribe. This is Nikki Lee signing out, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.